We're really happy to have you here. Tamara, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, hello everybody. Yeah, I'm excited to be here, and oh, this direction. And I want to start the talk actually with a movie, and yeah, let's just start watching it.
Дали ќе седне на работното столче или ќе седне на бирото, јас знам дали оно ќе почне да работи или ќе седе да...
Neçə kilo terisi?
Har xil.
Masalan?
12 kilo. Bir xil payt tergim kelmay o'ynab yuraman. Abitgacha 8 kilo teraman.
Ishingizga hech narsa demaydimi sen aka? O'qituvchilar
gapiradi endi normaga yetqaz deydi.
Eu gosto de pensar nessa quantidade de pensamento e ideias que habitam cada ponto tecido.
You don't want to snip too close. You want to always leave a little tail. This is maybe too much of a tail.
I'm a teacher at a local art school in San Francisco.
This direction.
Yeah, but I mean the one down there, how did you get that on there? That's the thing I was wondering.
So then this one...
I wandered through the city with this old treadle sewing machine in the cart, and I would just push it around different neighborhoods and mend people's holes.
Okay, in other words, the bottom thread is not in that hole there.
No.
Mir kommt es darauf an, die Wertstoffe, die Materialien zu retten vor der Müllverbrennung und mit diesem geretteten Material was Schönes zu machen, was Hochwertiges zu gestalten.
I think video is a tool that allows us to reflect on ourselves and on our environment. And that's the foundation for social empowerment. I think a world where we all have mobile cameras in our cell phones, which we carry with us everywhere we go, and we can snap anything as a still image, we can capture realities that happens in front of us as a moving image, and we can distribute that online, means we're looking at the world in different ways.
Okay. So this movie illustrates for me a bit like the way the textile industry is working right now and the fashion industry. They collected videos from all over the world, from over 42 countries, and they made this compilation. It's a longer movie, and that's just a small part of it. So I want to talk about, well, the theme is revolution, and I'll talk about the revolution in the world of textiles and fashion. And I'll do this from my perspective. And my idea is that technology is empowering society. We can do more and more with the technology around us. And so it's also creating opportunities for the field of wearables and textiles. But let's start with who I am and how I came to this idea. So I'm Tamara Hoogeweegen. I've hello. Yes. I have a Colombian mother, Dutch father, and I first studied public administration organization sciences for like 4 years in Amsterdam. And I did the honors program and it went all pretty well, but it wasn't until the end while I was writing my thesis that I kind of realized that I was going through this whole program which was set up for me, and I was not really thinking about who am I and what are my interests. It was just predefined and I was going through it and it went pretty well and I found it all interesting. But only at the end I did this course where I started to then think, okay, what do I find interesting and where does this come together? And so in a way, in a more personalized way rather than very like standardized, which I think is also something that is coming more and more in society, doing things on a more individual level. So I started, we'll skip this, I started industrial design at the TU in Eindhoven, and I decided to do it here because we are free to choose what we want to do. We decide what classes we want to take or not, and it's very free. And so we start this whole program with writing at the beginning of the semester, writing a personal development plan. So we decide what courses we want to take to develop ourselves and in what way, what do we focus on, and it's all defined basically on the vision and identity that we are trained to write every semester. And the better you know your vision, the better you can know what courses you want to take to develop yourself better. And so through this program of 3 years, I developed my vision. I'm almost graduated. And so what is my vision? Let's start with that, well, technologies nowadays are changing faster than ever. And that's definitely influencing like our world and what we can work with. What are the tools that we make, that we create with? So I have another video which illustrates or will tell you more about Moore's law, about the way technology is changing. And yeah.
Behold, the transistor, a tiny switch about the size of a virus that can control the flow of a small electrical current. It's one of the most important inventions ever, because when it's on, and when it's off, it's off. Sounds simple, probably too simple, but this either-or situation is incredibly useful because it's a binary system, on or off, yes or no, 1 or 0. With enough transistors working together, we can create limitless combinations of ons and offs, 1s and 0s to make a code that can store and process just about any kind of information you can imagine. That's how your computer computes, and it's how you're watching me right now. It's all because those tiny transistors can be organized or integrated into integrated circuits, also known as microchips or microprocessors, which can orchestrate the operation of millions of transistors at once. And until pretty recently, the only limitation to how fast and smart our computers could get was how many transistors we could pack onto a microchip. Back in 1965, Gordon Moore, co-founder of the Intel Corporation, predicted that the number of transistors that could fit on a microchip would double every 2 years. So essentially, every 2 years, computers would become twice as powerful. This is known in the tech industry as
Moore's law. And so that was exactly 50 years ago, and there was this interview with him, and like he had never imagined that this would like keep on going for so many years. And he basically also in his paper he predicts like that it will be used for like supercomputers and also like wearables. So he didn't use words such as like a watch or whatever, but he basically predicted the things that we're using nowadays. So we don't know where it will take us, but these technologies which are developing so fast, I think as designers we should embrace them and use them in what we create, and because it empowers us. I'll give some examples. I'm having trouble with this clicker thing. Okay, maybe I'm in the wrong position. Maybe here's better. So, well, of course, 3D printing, we all know. You can make whatever you want, maybe a scan of yourself and press Ctrl P or send it to an online platform and get whatever you want printed. But besides just printing what we want, we can also print much more. For example, really basic made prosthetics, which are printed with the MakerBot, which is not a very precise 3D printer and not expensive. So this prosthetic is for around €50. But also we can print different things. So for example, think of airplanes, and to make them lighter, instead of having more solid structures, we can now 3D print lattices to create volumes, which makes things much lighter and therefore also then cheaper. And then there are platforms such as crowdsourcing and crowdfunding where we get much more a say in things. We define where we put our money in or not, what kind of projects we want to get developed. So we are getting more voice, and we can have a say in everything. So it's democratizing the society and technology. And we're getting, all of this is also connecting worldwide more people. And we also never thought of wanting to be connected that much, but we cannot now imagine living without it anymore. I think, well, I'll have another video to kind of illustrate this. Maybe most of you know it. It's in Dutch, unfortunately.
Heeft u een mobiele telefoon? Nee. Waarom niet?
Nou, dat heb ik niet nodig, want ik word toch niet gebeld of zo.
Heeft u een mobiele telefoon?
Nee hoor, dat heb ik niet.
Waarom heeft u er geen?
Nou, ik zie er niet van in.
Dan ben je aan het fietsen en dan word je gebeld.
Vindt u het belangrijk om altijd bereikbaar te zijn?
Ook niet. Ik ben niet zo belangrijk.
Ik heb gewoon een telefoon, waarvoor moet ik een mobiel hebben?
Dat is handig. Maar als ik ergens strand, dan is er ook altijd ergens wel een telefooncel of een boerderij met een boer met een telefoon.
Ik heb al een antwoordapparaat, dus thuis ben ik altijd al bereikbaar. Of dien dan terug te bellen als er is gebeld, maar ook nog eens onderweg. Als ik in de trein zit of in de auto gebeld worden of zelf kunnen bellen, vind ik niet nodig.
Het lijkt me helemaal niet leuk om altijd bereikbaar te zijn.
Ik ben student en ik heb een antwoordapparaat en dat is prima.
We hebben het jaren zo gedaan en ik vind het wel goed zo.
Ik heb een buzzertje voor hoognodige problemen, denk ik. Maar ik hoef niet continu zo'n piepding op een terrasje te hebben en zo.
Als mensen mij bereiken willen, dan kunnen ze dat met een brief doen. En is het dringend, dan ben ik telefonisch thuis te bereiken.
Ja, ik weet nu al dat ik hem overal laat liggen. In plaats van vallen.
Also,
ik ben ook gelukkig
maybe non-Dutch speakers, they're all telling how, are you crazy? I don't want to have a phone. Imagine biking with a phone in your hand. No, that's not doable. You can just reach me, I don't know, with a card by post. This was in 1999, and now we cannot even imagine living that way. And so where will it take us now? So these are the platforms which create all this connectivity and that are also involved in our daily lives, and they're all actually pretty young, but they're all developing so fast and they're all empowering us. And then there's all the open source platforms which are developing, amongst which there's, for example, the Arduino's microcontrollers, which are, you can buy, there's all the software you need for it, open source online, and you can program it and make whatever you want. Let's say place it in your house, a sensor which maybe detects if there's movement, and you can program for a light to turn on. And this is now available for everyone. Well, it used to only be maybe for a selected few, but with the open source technologies developing, there are much more and more people doing it. There's this huge maker movement developing with all this very big maker fairs where all this 3D printing and open source and everything comes together, and there are all these kids playing with it and doing robot races. And so yeah, it's becoming more normal, and it's what we learn and empowers us. And so how does this relate to now back to wearables and textiles? There's this, the wearable technology, which means everything and nothing at the same time. Nobody really knows what it means. And so what I don't really associate with it, or what I don't want to associate it with, are all these gadgets like activity trackers or the iPhones and the Google glasses. And I feel like these are all these sensors which you kind of paste onto our bodies, but they're not really integrated in the design or the way we use it. It's like, okay, we have it, let's see how we can, let's just put it on our bodies and use it. And if you're healthy, you don't need an activity tracker, right? Like, how do we want to use this information? So for me, it's about, oh, yes. So in my eyes, it's not about all these gadgets, maybe all the body, but in my eyes, it should merge and become one, like the materials we use with maybe these sensors. So another small video of a fashion designer and an expert in the field. She has this company called Cute Circuits. Oh, now let her talk.
Question. It's a matter also of training, because I mean, when I started like being a designer like many years ago, I was a normal fashion designer. I originally trained as an architect, and then I just went to a research institute for 2 years, where I learned more about interaction design and how to design with technology 5 to 10 years in the future, and so all of a sudden, from a fashion design perspective, I thought that if I wanted to create wearable technology, I had to start inventing new materials, because materials that would allow me to make wearable technology look as beautiful as a normal garment wasn't there yet. So I think it's really a matter of providing training. So if you go to fashion design school, you should also have a code lab and a materials lab and a technology lab, so that you can see how everything works together. Because if you have everything separated in just like sealed compartments, then of course the final product is not going to look as good as it should, or maybe.
Yeah, so I like the way she says that how like the materials and what we use really, you need to merge it, and maybe you need to make a new material to really create this wearable technology. So I'll give some examples. This is a project I did. More conceptual, but the idea was like translating body movement of how we hide maybe a bit into our phones and translate it into lights on the back. And then I developed this like conductive material which I put on the leather to then illustrate the movements. And then by developing the material, it kind of integrates together with the leather and the conductivity and the LEDs. And then, for example, a nice example I think is Wearable Solar by Pauline van Dongen, and how she really she uses the yarns, and it's really in the garment itself, the way it's developed, and it's not like, okay, let's paste things on top, but it becomes part of a whole. And then. So with this you can charge your phone, iPhone, or any USB kind of device. This is another project, also more in a conceptual phase. I would have to develop it further, but with the idea of having like bras for menopausal women. So when they have hot flushes, they can turn it on and have a cooling feeling under it. So in the back there would be a micro fan, and then through the airways in the front, you get under your shirt some air movement. And then a different way of using this technology is I did an internship with Bradley Ruthenberg, where they are developing like 3D printed textiles. So we look at all these interlocking systems to see how can we create flexible materials, and it keeps on moving. And they make they're developing their own software. So here, for example, in Rhino, we use different units, which we then repeat and adjust. And this is, for example, seamless print, which they did, and it's printed with TPU, so it's kind of rubber-like. It's flexible, but with the idea that this technology will like become much smaller in the future, because it's just not as wearable yet. But besides just like this more wearable technology products, I think it's also interesting to see like how can we use this technology in the production of textiles and wearables. I'll let her talk about this.
I think she might have an interesting overview on this question of whether technology has changed pattern, colour and cloth. And really a follow-up question on that is that if it has, how has it?
Hi everyone. I think undeniably, of course, technology has changed pattern, colour and cloth. I mean, Digital color, of course, is an incredibly kind of enhanced color, and digital print is something that we've definitely seen taking the catwalk by storm. But in coming here, I actually thought that I'd like to put forward a really strong argument and say that to kind of summarize fashion in terms of pattern, color, and cloth is interesting, and it is about the aesthetics of fashion, which fashion, of course, leads in terms of design. But I think it's really interesting as well to think about how technology has changed the function of fashion. That, for me, is much more interesting. And I think actually when it comes to, well, maybe we can expand that question. So, has technology changed the pattern, color, and pattern, color, cloth, and essentially the way that we wear clothes or the function of clothes? And in terms of that, I think the difference is absolutely, yeah, the most pronounced and quite dramatic.
Can you expand on that a little then?
Yeah, I can. I think for me, what's really fascinating is that at the moment, I'm looking at digital design. That's the field that I work in, and have come from a background in fashion. And it's always been really frustrating to me that fashion is one thing and design is another, and that the discussions that you have in design often don't really kind of really translate well into the world of fashion. So really interesting discussions that are going on, like eco-design or sustainable design, or maybe most interesting to me is social design, don't necessarily...
Yeah, so the way she addressed it, we can use things that we know from the design world in the world of textiles and fashion as well. And with technology, this also becomes easier to do. So for example, this is a project where they're developing the zero-waste dress. So then they're also using different kind of production techniques with the idea that you can kind of press and cut the seams at once with the machine. So then we change, like you don't need additional maybe yarns to close the seams. And you don't have extra waste. And then they have all these tests with the different materials to see what welds well together or not. How can you still create prints so it still stays fashionable, right? And no, next. This is a project done by a fellow student at the TU, Leonie Tentel van Noorden, and she also says, like, okay, if we're changing, why can we not use our body scans to design them straight on the body? And with programming, she can change the patterns every time and will be different, but at the same time you get this straight as an outcome, so you can send it to the laser cutter and you can just sew it together. So it's also about the thinking in the design process and like the steps towards it and how to produce it. And then I've been working with some colleagues on a project, and we're still developing it, where it's a keen project, and we collaborated with different people. So a fashion designer from the HKU and the Polymer Institute, with the idea of, okay, like H&M, Primark are selling really cheap garments for girls who want to try identities and something for a party. They wear it once and basically stays into the closet. Why can we not do this, but then made from a material which doesn't last long, because these shirts aren't made to last long anyways. You have holes or balls on it really soon after one wash. So what if we make this out of a material which would dissolve in the washing machine with a certain detergent? So you use it one night or maybe a couple of times, and well, you feel great at the party, you wash it with this detergent and it's just gone. Like, you don't have to think about it. And then this material, of course, is a biodegradable material, so it wouldn't be harmful for the environment. Yeah, we're trying to develop this material with the Polymer Institute, and we're now making a video on the yeah, to present this concept. But then, like, a step further, like biodesign in textiles. So with a further future ahead, let's think of 2050. We have a lot of things we have to deal with. We have overpopulation, resources, water, and well, the way the industry works right now, we cannot really continue in this way if we know that all of this is going to happen. So we have to look for alternatives. So this biodesign is coming with presenting different ideas and concepts for this world. Okay. So this is a project, Alchemy by Blunt and Bieber, where they used algae to make prints on textiles. Well, just the whole process super interesting, how they researched it and how they made prints, but also their statement of the idea of, like, now we're used to having prints and they have to stay that way, but why, you know, like these, they kind of change color over time. So maybe we just need to change the idea we think of about prints and clothes. So like maybe it's okay for them to change over. Well, what are our current ideas about the prints and textiles, and where do we want to go? Does it really have to stay a certain way? Why can we not play with the changing prints or colors? Maybe it shows something else. It will always change in a different way if you're a lot like in sun or more in a dark environment. There are a lot of different factors which will influence the change of the color. And then there's much more conceptual project where she presents the idea for the world of 2050 that we will have synthetic biology will have developed so far that we'll be able to change the DNA of the living materials around ourselves. So why not change, for example, plants, which will then give us, first of all, food, like special strawberries, which have, I don't remember what she says that's in the strawberries, but at the same time, the roots would produce lace. So she's really playing with this idea of how can we use synthetic biology for the world of textiles. And then now this, for my graduation project, I was also where is it? I was playing with biotechnology and seeing how we can use it for the world of, I guess it's not in here maybe. So I made prints with bacteria on textiles. I grew them in Petri dishes. I collected the bacteria from the air and then printed it onto textiles to create like unique patterns every time. And these bacteria, it's what we breathe in and out every day anyways. So, you know, why not use this as a tool to create unique patterns? But I guess there's no picture of that. And then this is kind of a small movie to round up.
When Coco Chanel spoke the words, "Fashion passes, style remains," she couldn't have known how relevant it would be 50 years on. With every season, we see more colors, collections, and styles than ever before. But while fashion moves faster and faster, the concept of clothing hasn't changed much in over 100 years. Textiles still cover bodies and signify social code. Fabrics are still sewn with needles and sold in stores. Maybe it doesn't make sense to disrupt a $1.7 trillion industry. But shouldn't there be something more progressive than design and style changes?
That was it. Thank you.